Yo, fam, we're about to dive into the relationship between Namibia and South Africa. It's a story with history, economics, and a whole lot of baggage. Think of it like that one cousin you're cool with, but they always borrow money and crash on your couch a little too often. Namibia and South Africa share a border and a past. For decades, Namibia was under South African rule. This wasn't a friendly visit, it was apartheid, a system of racial segregation and discrimination. Namibia finally got its independence in 1990, but freedom didn't erase the past. South Africa's influence is still felt in many ways. It's like trying to bake a cake after someone else used all the flour and sugar. You're starting from scratch, but the kitchen's still a mess. Let's talk economics, people. Namibia relies heavily on South Africa for imports. Everything from food to fuel makes its way across that border. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little trade, but when one country controls most of what you need, it creates a power imbalance. Imagine going to the grocery store and the only cashier is your ex. Awkward, right? That's kind of what it's like for Namibia. They need stuff and South Africa's holding the shopping cart. This dependence isn't just about groceries. Namibia uses the South African rand as its currency. That's right, they literally share money. While this makes trade easier, it also means Namibia's economy is vulnerable to fluctuations in the South African economy. Now, before we get all doom and gloom, let's talk about SECU, the Southern African Customs Union. It's like a club where members get special trade deals. Namibia is a member, along with South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, and Eswatini. SECU helps Namibia by giving them access to a larger market for their exports. Think of it like having a bigger stage to sell your stuff. More customers, more money, right? But, and this is a big but, SECU has its downsides. The biggest one, South Africa's the dominant player. They call the shots, and sometimes those shots benefit them more than the other members. Here's the thing about having a neighbor with a much bigger economy. They cast a big shadow. South Africa's industries are more developed than Namibia's. This means they can often produce goods cheaper and faster. Imagine trying to sell homemade cookies next to a bakery with flashing lights and a giant cookie mascot. You might make a mean chocolate chip, but good luck competing with that level of marketing. This economic gap creates challenges for Namibian businesses. They struggle to compete with South African goods, both in terms of price and variety. It's like trying to win a race while wearing lead shoes. Section 5. When protectionism bites back. Remember SECU, that trade club we talked about? Well, sometimes South Africa uses its influence to protect its own industries. They might impose tariffs or quotas on goods coming from other countries, even those within SECU. This protectionism can hurt Namibian businesses. It makes it harder for them to access cheaper raw materials or finished goods. It's like being in a band where the lead singer keeps hogging the microphone. For example, South Africa has been known to impose quotas on Namibian beef exports. This means Namibian farmers can only sell a limited amount of beef to South Africa, even if there's demand for more. It's like having a killer stand-up routine, but only being allowed to tell 3 jokes. Section 6. The rand that ties. Remember how Namibia uses the South African rand? Well, that comes with its own set of headaches. When the rand's strong, it makes Namibian exports more expensive. This can hurt their competitiveness in the global market. Think of it like this. You're selling lemonade, but the price of lemons suddenly skyrockets. You have to raise your prices and people might start buying cheaper lemonade from the kid down the street. On the flip side, when the rand weakens, it makes imports more expensive for Namibia. This can lead to inflation, which basically means everything gets more expensive. It's a lose-lose situation for Namibia, caught in the crosshairs of South Africa's monetary policy. Section 7. Political tremors across the border. Politics in South Africa can also shake things up in Namibia. Instability or policy changes in South Africa can have ripple effects across the border. It's like living next door to a house with a really loud stereo. You can't help but hear the music, even if you don't like the song. For example, if South Africa experiences political unrest or economic turmoil, it can discourage foreign investment in the entire region, including Namibia. It's like trying to throw a party when your neighbor's house is on fire. People might be hesitant to come over. This interconnectedness highlights the need for close cooperation and communication between the two countries. They need to find ways to work together to address common challenges and create a more stable and prosperous future for both. Section 8, Beyond Dependence, Finding Namibia's Footing. Now, don't get me wrong, Namibia is not just sitting back and taking it. They're working hard to diversify their economy and reduce their reliance on South Africa. It's like trying to learn a new language so you can finally understand what that one friend is always mumbling about. They're investing in sectors like tourism, renewable energy, and manufacturing. The goal is to create jobs, boost exports, and become more self-sufficient. It's a long road, but they're making progress. Namibia is also strengthening ties with other countries in Africa and beyond. They're looking for new trading partners and investors to reduce their dependence on any single nation. It's like expanding your social circle so you're not relying on just one friend for everything. Section 9. It's complicated. The price of proximity. So, there you have it, the complex relationship between Namibia and South Africa. It's a story of historical ties, economic dependence, and the challenges of forging your own path in the shadow of a larger neighbor. It's like that friend who's always around, sometimes helpful, sometimes annoying, but always a part of your life. You might fight, you might make up, but you're stuck with each other, for better or worse. Ultimately, the future of this relationship depends on both countries' willingness to address the power imbalances, promote fair trade, and support each other's growth. It's about finding a balance between cooperation and independence, recognizing that sometimes even neighbors need a little space,